Welcome to Ein Sof. I'm Byron Jackson.
And I'm Jennifer O'Neill. And Ein Sof is the period before creation that was both unending and infinite.
And I'm Ford Austin, and today we're going to find out how in the world we got sparked into this existence.
Yes, we look at iconic figures from around the world to see what were they like before it all began. Welcome to Ein Sof. I'm your host, Byron Jackson, with my co-host,
Jennifer O'Neill.
And so help us spell this term that is hard for people to understand.
I think we decided it was EIN space SOF.
And it means what?
The infinite space of creation and unending nothingness.
Possibility.
Before creation. Yeah,
it's like, it's the possibilities before there was something created. And I can't believe we thought of this ourselves. This is like magical.
We should get an award.
We should get it. Let's give it. Okay, I'll give you one right now. Bum, 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 bum. Jennifer, I give you the Ein Sof Creativity Award.
Woo!
Woo! So, welcome. Okay, now you could go to all this stuff.
Well, we have a very special guest with us today.
Is it Ein Sof himself?
Yep.
Okay.
Ein Sof Ford Austin, actor, producer, director, and I'm not sure if it's Oklahoma and Texas or native, but you are from here.
Well, I was born at St. Anthony's Hospital.
That's where I work.
It's the best place to enter this world, speaking of Ein Sof
That's
beginnings.
Awesome.
And I was raised in Texas because my family moved to Houston and Dallas. And then I finished high school in Dallas, but I went through some schools here. And then I moved off to Philadelphia, and I moved to the streets of New York City.
Ooh.
And then I moved out to Los Angeles, where I made movies for about 25 years. But definitely my roots are here in Oklahoma, and I'm happy to be here now. I've been here for about 6 years, and I'm still making movies in Los Angeles and New York. And it's a pleasure to be here. I've been back here since 2018. I went away and I learned everything that you need to know about doing a play on Broadway or plays all over the country or movies or TV shows in LA. I worked at all the studio lots and I worked at all the studios and networks. And now I have all those skills and all those wonderful talents that I have brought back to Oklahoma, the fabulous homeland that we are all in.
For a moment, I thought you were going to say you were glad to be here on the air with us, but then I realized you're glad to be in Oklahoma. So,
well,
you really don't care if you're here with us.
What's great about this is my first episode with you guys, and I really am grateful that you put this chair in the studio for me. It's nice that you have my name printed on it now, so I'll be here until the show goes on and just goes away. It's just three of us,
that would be great. It'd be great for you to have your own show. So I went and watched one of your movies, and I have to say that it is not for the faint of heart, because let's see, you had something buried. You had blood all over you and something was buried in your yard. Is that?
I think he's making up that he actually saw it. Yes, you're right. The movie is called Digging to Death. I believe that's what you were talking about, right? Digging to Death. It's currently available on Apple and Amazon. And it's also on a few others. And it's a really great movie directed by the skilled director, Michael Blevins. And I play David, who is he bought a house and he's attempting to put in his own septic tank. So he goes and starts to dig, and he finds this box in the backyard, and it's got $3.5 million in the corpse. It's got a corpse in it. So he has to figure out how to do that. He doesn't know what to do, because if he turns in the box and the corpse, then the money goes to something else. So he hilarity ensues. And maybe not hilarity, but it's a very, very good movie, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Sounds
and I think
fun.
everybody should go out and watch it because
I will watch the thing and not just the trailer. See, when I watch trailers, I count that as I saw the movie.
well, one of the things that's great about that movie is I spent 7 years of my life being mentored by Martin Landau, who was in North by Northwest, and he played, most famously, won his Oscar for playing Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood opposite Johnny Depp.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And he mentored me for the last 7 years of his life. And the skills that he gave me at the Actors Studio were the ones that I used in that movie. And I wound up having this really intense breakdown inside the film, where I was fighting this corpse. And it really goes to some dark places.
Ew. So when did you going to the Ein Sof? Have you always been interested in acting since you were a kid, or?
I was put into a movie when I was 1 year old by my parents.
Really?
They produced it here in Oklahoma City, and it was called 30 Dangerous Seconds. And I stole the entire movie as a 1 year old. Thank you for laughing. Thank you for laughing. So I'm in a scene in a wedding where I'm being held by this woman, and I couldn't tell you that that's really the moment that I was impacted to become an actor, but my parents did put me into a service where we were put into little casting situations whenever they needed kids or young people in series or movies. So my parents thrust me into it. And then along the way, I wound up kind of enjoying it enough that I decided to go to college at Oklahoma City University and get a degree in theater.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
So I wound up doing a lot of theater in my life. I did theater here in Oklahoma. I did 2 plays at Pollard. I did a lot of plays at OCU. And then I went to Philadelphia and I did my master's at Temple University. And I did a lot of theater there. And then I moved into New York City and I did a lot of theater there. Only stage. And then that was about 7 years of just stage. And, and I did some film stuff and TV stuff along the way there, but nothing where I was like the lead role. So I got to New York and I was doing this play where the director of it had been the AD on Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity. And he directed us in this play called Lawyers. And I wound up meeting this woman in the play, and we fell in love, and we're still together today. But we both, as actors, we moved out to Los Angeles, and she became a TV producer, and I became a filmmaker, writing and producing and directing and acting in films. And I guess the Ein Sof was just being a child and my parents putting me through that whole situation as a child and being on sets and kind of figuring it all out.
Did your education help you? Did they intertwine along with?
Oh, yeah. I had acting teachers that really, they taught me how to just be yourself. And if you really want to talk about me today, in this moment, my Ein Sof would go back to 2011, to March 9th, 2011, where I was driving a car and I totaled it and I wound up paralyzed and in a coma. I woke up from the coma 2 weeks later and they said I had died 3 times, and I don't remember any of it, but I do remember having these dreams and near-death experiences where I met my great-grandfather and my grandfather and a doorway of white light. And I also remember moving through these 3 tunnels and not being able to breathe and then being able to breathe. And when I woke up from the coma, they said, "You've died 3 times."
Wow.
And, that was a real life-changing event, that car accident. I lived at Cedars-Sinai for 6 months. I signed contracts to distribute my movies. I produced one of my other movies that we premiered in theaters eventually. And I received a trophy for a movie I made. And then I was dictating scripts because I was paralyzed. I couldn't write anything. So My friend wrote it down as I said it. And it, it was definitely life-changing. And it was like a phoenix rising from the ashes, because for about a year, I didn't act in anything. All I did was jobs where I was able to either consult or I was only producing. So not like on the ground producing during production, but like producing, making phone calls from my hospital bed. And I did what I could to keep moving forward in life. And then after that, about a year later, I was able to walk. And then 2 years later, I decided to act again, because I didn't think I was going to be able to act ever again. And I said, what am I going to do? I'm an actor, So I was laying in a hospital in New York City, and they took my left hip out because my hip replacement had become infected. And I was laying there in bed, and I said, what am I going to do? I can't walk. I can't do anything. What's the one thing that I've always wanted to do in my life that I was always scared to do? It was to be a member of the Actors Studio, the one with Al Pacino and De Niro and Brando and James Dean and Ellen Burstyn and, Gina Rowlands, all these people. So I wound up calling a friend whose father was Martin Landau, and I asked if I could meet him and talk to him. And I eventually went to the Actors Studio and started working. And, I couldn't really work. I couldn't really do much because I was still limping. Like, there was a job that I got, and it was for a Downy fabric softener. And I went into the audition, and I was like, I just sat in the chair and I couldn't really move. And that was exactly what the role was supposed to do. Just be this husband who was so tired because he hadn't used Downy fabric softener that he was just sitting there in the chair while his wife was pouring coffee over him in the morning. And then the second callback, they said, hey, Ford, you're going to have to do a little more to help your wife out with these kids that she's dragging around the kitchen. And I left going, why are they ever going to call me? I'm not getting this job. And it turned out that they based the entire commercial around me. And then on the shoot, we had to go from the car into the house. We were so exhausted. We were limping along. And I was just trying to walk normal. And they were like, hey, everybody follow what Ford's doing. It looks so natural.
That's great.
Yeah. And, even at my lowest point, I was doing whatever I could to keep moving forward. And it was enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was enough.
Which is really, if you look at it, to me, that's like a motto of my life, is that I am enough. And so, that has been my struggle to try and realize I don't have to do anything. I am enough.
I'm enough. I have enough.
Yeah.
I've done enough.
Yeah.
So was that like was that your epiphany? I know lots of perseverance.
What's the word this show's about again? Ein Sof?
Yeah.
From Ein Sof to enough.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is.
Boom.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
That's really what I've just learned being here with you guys is
wow.
No matter what, just, how they always kind of said life is about showing up.
Yeah.
And my grandmother even, she'd make kind of these weird things and you're like, well, this is just really BS, Grandma. But I remember when I first wanted to really like work at TV studios, she's like, oh, honey, you just got to go there and grab a broom and walk in the door. And I said, what? I'm supposed to just go grab a broom and just start sweeping up in a studio. And then when somebody goes, hey, what are you doing here? I go, I work here. I work here.
We need this. We need that.
But the thing is, she's kind of right.
Yeah.
If you're there, you're going to be working. You're going to be doing something because there's always a need for somebody to do something.
Yeah.
And, I've done a couple of startup businesses and internet companies in my life. They always start with all these employees and all this money. And if they are successful, they keep going from there. If they're not successful, they dwindle down, they cut out things, people get laid off, other people stay. And in some situations, it's always down to the most important person, which is the attorney, because they're the ones that can like write the contracts and keep everything going. I do know of 2 attorneys now that have taken over massive companies, and they're like the heads of these companies. Originally, they were just doing the legal work for them. So if you're there and you're just working and you're constantly sticking to it and going in every day and putting in the work, it really pays off.
Damn it, I could stay here and just drink the water.
All this can be yours.
And this could
That's
be
right.
this could be my okay. So if I could digress, just because
Please do.
So I went to OU, and
It's a great school.
it is a great school. But at the time I went in the 70s. So I took intro to acting, but my major was social work. And so at that time, I really loved it. At that time, they had like no blacks in the drama department. So my teacher goes, they have this play and they need a black. I think you would be good in that. So I did that play. So I ended up doing about 8 plays at OU. One of those was playing the first black that went to OU. And his name was something Roscoe. And he was 60 years old, but I was like in my 20s.
And there was a play about that individual?
It was called Halls of Ivory. And it was really about Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah.
And taking that case to court and getting him to be allowed to. And so I had to go through this whole thing where I sat behind like a curtain because I couldn't be with the rest of the students. And there was one bathroom on campus. And so it's just all. So anyway, so I remember when I started doing it, I had to play a 60-year-old. And I started bending over and walking out. And the director goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm practicing being a 60-year-old.
I'm playing 60.
He says, "No, just be yourself."
Yeah.
And so I go, "Well, people won't think I'm 60 because I'm like 20. Now they would, but not then." And so I remember like doing rehearsal. And one time at rehearsal, I'm walking onto the stage and I notice I have this little gimp and stoop the moment I hit the stage. And I understood the beauty and the creation of acting and creating a character. And it just was, I was ready to give up my entire career and do that forever and ever.
That's incredible. You know, one of the things that they always tell us in Hollywood is don't create some big character that's outside of yourself because they want to see you. They want to see you in the role.
Yeah.
That's it. That's why people perform Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet all the time, is because even though Hamlet's been done for centuries, you've never done it. We've never seen you do it. We've never seen Brown Gravy Hamlet.
Yes. Brown Gravy Othello.
Yeah. Yes. And White Fudge. Brown Gravy and White Fudge as Iago. Yeah. Get your tickets now.
We would kill.
Yeah. We've got a Desdemona right over there. So, but I think that one of the things that a lot of younger actors don't think and don't know is like, and all of us do it. All of us did it. Always be exploring and always bring yourself. It's always about you as the character.
Yeah.
The minute you pick up the script, you are the character, period. You're the character. The minute someone says, "Hey, you're going to play Romeo," you are Romeo. Romeo's not you. You know, that's it. I mean, those are interchangeable. That character that was written 400 years ago is now you.
So for more about you, can I share more?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. How would you say no to that, by the way?
Yeah.
So I'm in recovery, and so there's this conference that they have every year, and they have a play with alcoholics doing like a little funny skit on something about drinking. So Jennifer and I actually wrote and directed for years and years this play. And so you have not worked with any actors till you worked with tenderhearted alcoholics. Like we had this one guy that wanted to They're doing a Motown thing. And so he wanted to sing, because he loves the Temptations. But he stunk.
He's not a singer.
He's not a singer. And I said, I can't have you as my singer. And he quit. I think he quit AA and everything. He may be out drunk right now. And so.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with anything. You have siblings?
Should you have let him sing is my question. No. I do have siblings. I have 2 sisters, Shayna, which means beautiful in Hebrew, and Tiffany. And they're both beautiful.
Now, are you Jewish?
No. My wife is Jewish. My in-law family is Jewish. My stepmother growing up was Jewish. And I go to temple sometimes just to be with a lot of Jewish people.
Now, what is your spiritual makeup?
That's a really good question. What are my beliefs, or are you saying like what?
Yeah. What?
So
what
I'm a star that came to this planet and came down into this body, and I went into this family that was raised kind of Methodist. I was never baptized. And then my first marriage, the priest at All Souls made me get baptized.
So Episcopal.
So I was baptized Episcopalian. And then there was this little couple that wanted me to marry them. I guess they wanted a Hollywood actor to marry them. So I was ordained in the Universal Life Church online.
Me too.
Yeah. Yes. And I, for an instant, you're like, oh, am I just going to get this whole thing and start marrying a lot of people? And then you do your first marriage, you say, no, I am never going to do this again.
Yeah.
I've had enough. And especially today, when you marry someone, there's like, in the old days, you'd be like, you'd hold a piece of paper and you'd read off the paper or you'd have it memorized. This young couple didn't know that I needed a little advance time. So they said, oh, we'll just email it to you. So I wound up reading off of my iPhone, and it was like I was always done in my iPhone and looking at my iPhone, and I just wasn't comfortable with that. So anyway, what do I believe? What do I believe? I use transcendental meditation to calm my mind and center my anxieties, and I think that if you were to put a Bible in a school and teach it, that you should have every single religious text next to it and made available to everybody.
I agree.
I do too.
I think that's just, you should put the Quran there. You should have the Old Testament separate from the New Testament.
Yeah,
those. Maybe there's a Torah right there. You should have the Buddhist tenets there, and the Hindu tenets.
Mary Magdalene's Gospel.
Yeah. You should have, and the Apocrypha should be in there. And maybe there should be a satanic Bible right there. I don't know. I think that there are a lot of people in the educational system that their lives are sort of thrown for a loop right now. I'm on the board of school, and it's really kind of a bothersome thing.
Yeah, Oklahoma is not a good example of education.
Really making the news here, right?
We are.
I have a friend that's worked for the library system, and whoever would have thought librarians are like being attacked? I mean, growing up, you go, that's like the safest, most mild-mannered, and suddenly, I mean, people are like going after librarians, and
I didn't hear they were like assaulting librarians about that.
Just for keeping things in the library.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wasn't there a movie about a librarian that was like a real badass? And like a secret agent or something. It was like the librarian.
We should write that.
The librarian.
The librarian comes out and beats up.
Beats the evil.
It's coming to AMC this fall. The librarian.
But that's a great thought. I actually.
What about you? I want to know, what's your spirituality, both of you, Jennifer and
go first. I've
Byron.
been talking a lot. So
where do you stand?
I like the
Yes.
idea, what you said about the star, because we are all made of the same thing that is in stars.
We're made
And
of
so,
stars.
Energy,
I like that.
energy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. And my, spiritual beliefs, I've always been a seeker. And so I'm always exploring different things. I think about, 30 years ago when I went into 12-step recovery, I started really seeking again and found the Bible, but I also found how alike it was with so many other religions. And then, when my Ein Sof was probably my dad when he ended up dying. And so it reframed my entire belief system, and realizing that really God was bigger than what I ever could have thought. And so it's kind of put me on a whole new journey of love. And
May I tell you something that happened to me when I was in the hospital that time in
Yeah.
2011? And when I woke up out of the coma, obviously I had no idea what was going on. I was in traction, and I looked up on the wall across the hospital room, and there was like 300 cards, get well cards. Not making any big statement that I was famous or anything. It was just, there was a lot of people that cared.
mm-hmm.
And in the middle of them, you remember when you went to school and you had this like picture day, and you'd get the pictures back like a month later, and there'd be the big one in the middle, then there'd be 4 across the top, and there'd be all the little ones down the side, and you'd cut them off and give them to your grandmother and give them to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had saved the one from when I was 7,
Wow.
maybe 5. And I was just like small, little, my teeth were out. I'd lost a tooth or something. And it was right in the middle of all of that, just wall of love. It was surrounded with love. And I looked at it for 6 months. And I thought eventually that piece of God is that little young version of ourselves. If you think back to like some of your earliest memories from when you were 4 or 5, whatever it is, I've talked to some people, they have like an earliest memory. They're like, oh, I remember being 1. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, so like stick with like 4. Think back. That's probably the most innocent, pure, nascent,
Yeah.
where you are yourself,
Mm-hmm.
with very little outward input and very little sort of like imposition from people and things in the world, changing you into what you are in this world. That's probably about as close as you can come to being like that little piece of God, where you're just like fresh out of the womb, you're fresh into the world, and you're like experiencing everything, and you're aware, and you're cognizant, and you're conscious of things you're doing. Maybe you're picking out your own little books to read. Maybe you're like really asking people in your family questions. Do you have a little friend or two? It's where you're really like crossing from being yourself to exposing yourself to what this big world is, with influences that change you. Whether they change you for the better or for the worse, they're being written on your soul. They're being written in the fingerprints of your body, and you will carry them with you forever, like your father, like my accident.
There's a lot.
There's a lot in yours, yeah.
There's a lot there.
But it's like the fingerprints of our soul. It's like we pick up all these things, and they impact us. And we're just expected to just go, oh, okay, shake it off and keep moving forward. Yeah. There's a lot of adjustment. There's a lot of timing and periods of introspective and sort of dealing with it.
I had a friend today who was telling me that they had a dog that died over the weekend. Ugh. And he was saying, man, I was just telling my family I got to leave because they need to get over this grieving. And I go, whoa. I go, stop. I go, people grieve the way they need to grieve. And you need to back off because it's you that's uncomfortable with that, not them. And but I really had to put the brakes on him to pull back because, I mean, they're working through some stuff and they need the space to be able to do that.
Have you guys ever been with someone you love as they pass away?
My mom.
Mm-hmm, my grandfather.
Yeah, I was with my father And I actually had to tell the doctors to stop keeping him alive. And I was with my stepfather at home in hospice. But one of the things I learned when I was in the coma is that you hear everything.
Mm-hmm.
When your eyes are closed, your ears never shut.
Mm.
Yeah.
You hear everything people are saying. You hear everything in the room. You hear music. And music is the biggest transporter of the soul. It frees us. You know, when you go into a store and there's music piped into the grocery store and you hear it as you're shopping along and you keep shopping along and you shop there forever. You're like, wow, I've been in this store for like an hour. If that music was not playing, you wouldn't be able to sit there and shop. You'd be like, oh, let's get out of here. We got other stuff to do. But it keeps your spirit moving. It keeps your spirit moving forward. That's why music is so amazing and popular in this world, because it is what has the most power over our spirit. It taps into it. It gets to it. It moves it. It changes your moods very quickly. If you have a bad day, you can sit down and just listen to a couple of songs and you're better, or you're moving in a different direction. And so when I was in the coma, my wife played Carole King, James Taylor, and some John Lennon. And I remember spending time at a beach house with those people, and I was really in a coma. But it was very real, and it was very vivid, just like this.
Well,
That's powerful, yeah.
Our time's almost out, but
What?
you're making me.
Want a part two, right? You want a part
This
two?
could be a part two. This is pretty good, but you're making me think of somebody that I was visiting one time, had a coma, and I farted.
They heard it.
And
They were laughing.
They heard it.
laughing.
They heard my fart, and so I probably need to go and I need to clean something up.
There's an apology in the future.
There's an apology. Okay, so I have this. So we have to create outtake when we get finished with you. And so I wanted to invite you. Would you mind doing that with us?
I'd love to make an outtake.
That would be
That's great, yeah.
Don't you think?
Love
And
it.
This would be, and I really do. I mean, we just like are scratching the surface of.
Yeah, we are. I mean, there's so many topics, and we just got so intense here. There's lighter stuff we can talk about, right? Like, I'm sure Jennifer's got a million jokes you want to pull out of it.
She's just.
I do have a sense of humor, but
So it's really pretty good. We have a good working relationship, and she really does seem like she prepared all these questions that we didn't ask.
well, he asked me to.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
He always wants me to prepare it, even though we don't ever use it. Yeah.
Well, let's go through a few of them. Let's just speed round those questions real quick.
Okay,
Hope they're
go.
lighthearted and funny, because
Do you
we're at
have
the end
any
of this.
question ones on there?
I do.
Okay.
What is the most Oklahoma thing that surprises most people in the industry?
Are you talking about the film industry or the oil?
The,
That's a
the
great
film.
question.
I'd
Yeah.
say the love of chicken fried steak. Everybody's just like shocked. They're
Surpasses.
like, "Oh, you have chicken fried steak? No, you got to get the chicken fried steak over here. Try the chicken fried steak down at Del Rancho. No. Head over to the Cattleman's. You got to get it.
It is a thing, isn't
It's
it?
prevalent. It's really all over the place. Everybody loves it. Everybody does it right, and you can't get it anywhere else but Oklahoma.
Well,
Awesome.
What else you got? Come on, keep
we got another.
Oh man. Well, some of it you've answered, but
I
how has
did.
your perspective on the entertainment industry evolved?
It's going to keep going. It's just changing. You know, back when I started, you would go to a studio lot. I don't want to make this too long. You would go to a studio lot and you would meet with the casting director, and they would show you sides for the shows they're casting. That doesn't exist anymore. Now they send your agent sides, or they just post them online and they say, go and record this and send us the tape. You used to go and audition in a place.
Wow.
You used to go to a studio.
So
and
now you just get
your
video.
manager would take you on the lot, or your agent would take you on the lot. So what's really cool, and Francis Ford Coppola and Gray Fredrickson taught me this, is you can live anywhere. You don't have to live, and it only hurts you if you live in Hollywood right now, because production is down 80% there. because everything is going to where the tax credits are. It's all about the tax credits. It's all about that. And they'll fly the talent to wherever they need. It's very different. If you want to be in movies, just make a damn movie. Period. Jennifer, just go make a movie.
Let's do it.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah,
I'll be Bonnie.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll get you a screening. Absolutely.
All right.
Clyde, put that gun up. Ford, this has been really fascinating.
It went too fast.
It does,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, definitely come back.
Yeah. We'll see it tomorrow, right? We'll be back tomorrow.
Tomorrow for part 2.
As soon as we can book Bridget,
and then getting your wife. We have to get your wife.
Yes, Lori Dash of Meditation Rebound fame.
In the book, and we have so many commonalities. I always impress Ford with your generosity around people, and I don't mean like giving them money, but just your generosity to thank the speakers,
be present with
and to just come up to people and talk to them. And to me, you were the first person when I was put into our Rotary Club that came up and said, "Welcome to Rotary." And so
I remember what you had on.
You're doing much better than I.
But I remember what you had on. That's a weird thing. You had that great paisley shirt on, that one that you like that has like a green paisley to it. The swirl, it was like a swirl. And it's, that's your vibe. That's what you do. And it was like, I was drawn to you immediately because you're very unique in this world. And that's what this world needs, is more people to be unique, more people to be fearless, to really be themselves out in the world.
Yeah.
And more people who celebrate what they have inside.
We'll end on that, don't you think?
Yes.
This is brown gravy, white fudge,
Woo!
and
Sister Sweet.
Sister Sweet.
We're out of here.